Hi, this is Trinesha and today I wanted to talk about bridging the gap. So I know you're probably thinking, what is making you want to do a video called Bridging the Gap? First, let me first say that, I try to make sure that every video is led with the intention of letting God lead me. So whatever it is that God puts on my heart, on my soul, if I feel it in my spirit, that's what the discussion is usually about. And earlier today, I was just thinking about, how when you grow up in church and you would hear a sermon and someone would talk about, kids these days, they got their pants all the way down to their ankles. And the kid that was in the church, and this is not to get on any pastors or anything like that, but I'm just setting an example. So I'm just giving an example so that people can understand where I'm coming from with this message. And so, there would be that kid in the church who has his pants sagging, and, there's people in his circle, there's his friends, maybe his dad's not around. I don't know what his backstory is, but, he's really struggling to find his identity. And because his friends wear their pants sagging, because the music is talking about this, because he can see images on TV of people walking around with their pants sagging, he thinks that this is how he should be as a man. He doesn't have another example, or his dad is not around like that, you know. And so sometimes, and I'm not saying it to get on the pastor, but sometimes like those messages cause more division than helping the person who needs it. Like maybe that kid was going to church because he was lost and trying to find direction, and singling him out made him feel like he didn't fit in there. And his friends are saying, this is cool, just do this and you'll fit in. And he goes down the wrong track and does all the wrong things because of that division, Or there's that girl that's in church, or a woman that's in church, and she wears her shirts a little lower than other people. She's had a hard life and she wants to turn her life to God, and she comes to the church building because she really wants to build a closer relationship with God. And you see older women, or you see like some of the people at church looking at her because her skirt's short, or because her shirt is low, when she came near to find God or build a relationship just like everybody else in there. And so now she feels left out, and the flesh is weak, and she's going through this internal struggle of being this person who God wants her to be and being the old person that she used to be. That type of division really makes it hard for people to lean into God, because nobody wants to be singled out or be divided from a church when they're trying to seek, not validation, but everybody wants to feel like they belong somewhere. And what really put this message on my heart is that, when I was spending some time with God and listening to this sermon about, growing your business and things like that, or being in another relationship. And this one was about business, but it can apply to any area of your life. And so it just, when God put on my spirit, like, the reason why the business isn't growing is because you want it for other people, or you want it because you're willing to compromise yourself to get it. You're willing to do these things to be in a relationship with somebody who's not even, equally yoked in business with you. You're willing to sacrifice your religion for this thing, when I'm the God of abundance and I can give you all of that, and you could do it the right way. And so, and I say God put on my spirit, it's not like I was willing to sell my soul for anything or anything like that. But I had a moment, I had this business opportunity, and I did not. This is just me being transparent. You can judge me all you want. I'm not working with that person or anything like that. But I did have a moment where I was thinking, like, should I take this deal? And God really convicted me hard. Like, listen, you didn't come this far for you to go and just make a deal like this. You're making a deal with the devil pretty much. And so I was like, you're right. Because, I mean, there's nothing that I should want more than you. And when he said that, it just made me think of how everybody wants to be seen. Everybody wants to feel validated or appreciated, or know that, they are not, I don't want to say being judged, because you can make an observation, and even though the Bible says thou shalt not judge, it just means not being judgmental, making people feel badly. Like, if you are making an observation or you're judging, it's usually a judgment call so that you can help somebody, not so you can give them unsolicited advice. Like, that's another thing. I'm not trying to be on a high horse and act like I got my stuff together, because I don't. I'm still working on myself just like everybody else. But there's a few things that I see that causes a lot of division within church, within the world, within whatever area, And I see it. So if I'm seeing it, I might be the person that has to speak up to bridge the gap. You know what I'm saying? Because I could see it from an older standpoint because I grew up around my grandparents. I grew up, old school. Like you go and you are pursuant. You are intentional. You pick up the phone and call people. When you're thinking about somebody, you pray about them. I'm real old school with like the old like Marvin Gaye, all the music. And so I understand that type of thinking. I understand, them growing up that way. I understand that, a lot of the things that they went through, a lot of prejudice that they went through has them thinking of things the way they do. With the younger generation who's about my age or younger, I could see how they think of things as well because they didn't have to grow up with a lot of the struggles as our grandparents. They didn't have to go through a lot of the segregation and a lot of things. Yes, we still deal with things here and there, and there's some people who will never change. But for the most part, my generation, younger than me, don't have to deal with a lot of the things that the older generation had to deal with. So when it came to them being prepared for work, doing different things, they had to look, talk, be a certain type of way. I can go to work with an afro tomorrow if I want to. You know what I'm saying? And so like things like that, it makes it, I don't want to say it makes it difficult, but it kind of causes this line between the older generation and the younger generation because the older generation can see them growing up and be like, back in my day, it was like this, but everybody's struggling in their own way in each generation. Although they don't have to deal with as much segregation, they still have to deal with a lot of things in their life as well. Even though they didn't have to fight to be places the way that the older generation did, they still have to fight for a position. Even though they didn't have to walk 15 miles to school and they can ride a bus, doesn't mean that on the bus they're not getting bullied. You know what I'm saying? So everybody has something that they're dealing with in their life. And it's not to negate that our ancestors or older generations went through a lot of stuff because I hear some stories and it sounds unrealistic to me. Like I can't imagine having to go through those things. And that's why I feel like a lot of the older generation is so hard on the younger because it's like, if I had it that easy, I would just do this. But I feel like, and please don't get mad at me for saying this, but I feel like that adversity helped make us a stronger generation. I feel like if it wasn't for the fight in them, we wouldn't have the fight in us. I feel like everything that they went through to help make a way for us move the starting line forward for us. And hopefully for the new generation, they can move the starting line forward for the next generation and over. I mean, and rinse and repeat, And when someone told me, and I don't know if it was a pastor or who it was, but someone really said that if you can see something that's a problem and nobody else sees it, you're the solution. And so if I can see that the division is causing more of an issue than a solution, you know? And I'm not saying this one video is going to fix everything and somebody's going to watch it and all of a sudden everybody's going to be healed and they're going to be kumbaya and it's going to be rainbows and butterflies. I'm not saying that at all. But I think that if we start having conversations with the intention of listening instead of being like, well, I'm not going to learn anything from somebody that's that young. Like, listen, I'm going to learn something from a 2-year-old and you can laugh at me if you want to. But that 2-year-old has technology I didn't grow up with. You can laugh at me all you want. I'm going to listen to an older person, because the wisdom that they got through their life, and not every older person is wise. I know that. But every single person in this life has went through their own journey and has something that they could teach me. So if there's something that I can learn, I don't ever want to be the type of person that feels like because I'm a certain age or because I did this or I did that, I know every single answer. I never want to get to the point where I feel like I know everything. I always want to be evolving, growing, and learning something. When I meet somebody, you're going to probably laugh at me, but when I meet people and it's a new person that I don't know and they act like they have all the answers and they're never wrong about anything, or, and I don't want to say never wrong about anything because people don't like being wrong about stuff. That's just normal. But when I meet somebody who really makes it seem like they never have a question about anything and they know all the answers, that is scary to me because there's not one human being walking this earth that's God. And you could say, it's silly for me to think like that, whatever you want. But that is the scariest type of human being I have ever encountered in my entire life, because if you're trying to have a conversation with them, they won't listen to you. If you're trying to help them, they're not going to be receptive of anything. When you are talking about something that matters to you, your opinion doesn't matter because they know all the answers. It's just really scary to be around a human being like that, because they can make a decision that affects everybody's life and just claim that they're right about it. They can just, I would say swear, but I don't want to say that, up and down, that they're just right about everything. And that's a dangerous mindset. I really feel like when you are a person, and especially when you're in church, you have to be compassionate with other people. I'm not saying you let people walk all over you. Like I always say, Jesus didn't even let people walk all over him. He had standards. He had boundaries, healthy standards and boundaries. And he was about that God life, And so I have every intention of living my life that way. Do I always do it? No. And I can say that honestly, sitting here transparent, be judged, whatever else. But if I'm helping somebody, so be it. I'm here to help and be speaking life into people and be intentional. I'm not here to be pleasing to everyone, because there's no way I could please everybody. And so I just feel like, and this is going to sound, when I say it like this though, I want to make sure, I don't want to say I'm politically correct, because I'm almost like to the point where, because I feel like God made it so that it's not so many people that I have to really be so, fine tuned, but also to a place where I could be real and be myself, and it's not going to ding me or anything like that. And I think authenticity and transparency is like two of the best things you can be when you're trying to be inspiring or intentional in your life, especially when you're seeking God. Like if I'm seeking God, I'm not trying to get a human being's approval. I'm trying to get God's approval so that God can be saying, well done. I'm not trying to get all these people to just be on my side. That's not the point. It's not, my purpose is to glorify God, not to glorify myself or other people. So my intention is to make sure I stay focused on him. And if there's something I have to say because God put it on my heart and it steps on a lot of people's toes, it just has to be what it is. And I'm not trying to say it like I don't care about people. I really, really, truly do care about people's well-being. I really do. But God is the most important thing. I, God is the most important thing. He is. And so I really want everyone to take a moment, whether you're an older person, a younger person, in between, whatever it is. And really, like, I have an example, but I don't want the person to watch this video and feel offended. But I also want people to understand that when they say certain things, they have to say it with the intention of being considerate of other people. Not politically correct. No, they don't have to say everything right. But the unsolicited advice has to end. Just kidding. No, sometimes people do need help in certain areas, and sometimes if you really care about them, you want to give them advice. I understand that. I'm just saying, if you're out and about with someone, or you are friends with someone, you're in church with someone, you're family members with someone, whatever else, and there's gonna be some people who just give advice just because that's what they like to do. But I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about if you barely know somebody and you're just having a normal conversation and they didn't ask for an opinion, please stop giving your unsolicited advice, because nobody wants to hear. Just kidding. No. But I only say it like that because for me, this is just my personal opinion. I don't know if everybody feels like this, but before I rededicated my life to God, when I was really all for me, and I just kind of wanted to do what I wanted to do, people would give me advice about relationships. And they would say things like, oh, if this was me, I would do this. And they would give me all of this great advice about how I should be living my life and what I should be doing and why I wasn't smart enough. And I just decided to stay with this person for so long. And, if it was me, I would never be with someone like this, or I would never be with someone that long, or I would never do this. And they give you all of this advice and everything. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're an older person watching this and it's about a woman who is in a relationship that you don't want her to be in, but she's still with that person, you're probably going to have to, if you're tired of telling her the same advice, if she's complaining to you about it, just tell her, hey, if you're going to stay, just don't complain about it. You can talk to me about anything. If you're going through something emotionally, if you want me to speak life into you, I will. If they need somebody to talk to because they're venting and they don't want advice, then let them vent to you. If they say, I don't know, what do you think? And you give your advice, that's fine. But all of the unsolicited advice of how stupid they look, and that's a real nasty word to use, but that's how it feels when you say, I would never, or I didn't, if it was me. When you say stuff like that, it really makes the other person feel like an idiot, and they stay in a relationship longer. And if they're like me in the past, they would want to be in that relationship more because someone was telling them they shouldn't be in it. So although you think it's helpful, it's not helpful. And also, when someone is healing, please stop giving unsolicited advice. Just stop. Stop with the you'll find somebody someday, because that doesn't make anybody feel better at all. Like, I'm the type of person who at that stage wasn't even looking to be in another relationship. I just was feeling some type of way, being in my feelings like a normal human being, emoting. Like, I didn't really need someone to tell me that I'm going to find somebody else when I know I will. I really didn't need, and that's not to be conceited or say it like I'm like so sure of myself. I just, when God told me I'm going to be in a relationship, I know I'm going to be in a relationship. I don't know the date, the time, or the hour, but I know it's going to happen, because God is a God that he cannot lie. So that wasn't even a question in my mind. It was more like, I'm hurting, I'm going through something right now, I'm in my feelings, so I just need to feel the feels and then, go through it on my own time. I don't need people to constantly say you're going to find somebody else when I know that's going to happen. Like, I find somebody every day. I'm just not going to settle for just a somebody or any. I'm not going to settle for anybody. I'm looking for somebody that God appointed for me. So when you say things like that, it's just like, okay. Like, I mean, what do you do with that? It's just, okay. It's like, and, and I don't want to say it like I'm trying to be rude or anything like that. But that's exactly how it feels when you say stuff like that. When you say, oh, you're going to find someone one day, it's like, okay. And, oh, that's the end of the conversation. That's the only thing you were going to say. You were just going to say that one line. That one line is going to resolve my whole heartbreak and everything else, right? That whole line is going to make me feel better, right? In this moment, while I'm hurting. You saying you're going to find somebody one day is giving me hope when my hope is in God. Hope is the faith of things that are unseen. I haven't seen this person yet. I need to be having hope. I don't need to be having a one-liner that's not helping me at all. And I know it sounds so harsh when I say it like that, when these people are really trying to help, but it is not helpful. When I'm in my feelings, I'm in my feelings. I'm really not like receptive to any of the things that people are saying at that time. I really just have to feel the feels and just write. I got to dance, I got to skate, I got to do whatever it is that I normally do, spend my time with God, do extra worship, read extra Bible chapters. I don't know what it is that I need to do while I'm in my feelings, but it takes time for me to heal. I don't just get a one line thing and then all of a sudden I forget about the person. Like, I'm going to have moments, because that's a normal human reaction. There's going to be memories. There's going to be things that come up. There's going to be triggers. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff. But I have to heal in a healthy way on my own time. You don't just tell me when I get to heal. That's what I think a lot of people don't understand. They'll say things like, oh, you should just get over it by now. And I'm not saying that you should just worry about an ex, or worry about somebody who doesn't want you, or worry about somebody who's in another relationship who chose somebody else because you weren't grace for them and they weren't grace for you in the first place. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about when it's fresh, when it's raw, and you have a moment for 1 minute, and then the person keeps dragging it on and on. You thought about it 1 minute. Now it turned into a whole hour-long conversation about something you don't even want to talk about. Like it's just things like that. And I absolutely am a supporter of, if you're hurting, if you're going through something, feel the feelings and move on. Like, feel what you need to feel, deal with it in your own way, do things that make you happy. And if you don't want to constantly talk about it, don't tell nobody about it. Like, just keep on living your life. When you're struggling, turn to God, and or hire a counselor or a life coach. Talk to them about it. So then that way that when you're done with it, they don't have to constantly keep bringing it up. It could be one session and then you can get it over with and move on with your life. Because if you tell somebody, when they see you, you could be happy, not even worried about the person. They're going to ask you how you feeling about that person. They're going to say something or mention the person's name. You're going to be like, it was 70 degrees and sunny, feeling like it was feeling outside. And I was feeling like, I was about to start dancing, offbeat and everything. And I was, I was really feeling, like good. And then you just had to poop on my day. It's like, why you gotta do that? And then, I don't let people's one comment poop on my day, but it's like, I got other things I got to think about. I got financial goals I'm trying to hit. I don't have time to be spending that much time worried about somebody who is, not even in a priority, or someone who's not even is of no significance in my life right now. So it's like, what is the point of even mentioning them? That's how I feel about it. I don't know if everybody feels like that. I just feel like out of sight, out of mind, focus on my goal, focus on my purpose, focus on God. That's it. That's what makes me heal. I just keep on grinding. I keep on doing the things that I need to do. I keep on focusing on myself. I keep on growing, learning. I keep on doing all of the things that are pouring into me. I keep on, if I want somebody to say, oh my gosh, you look beautiful. If I want someone to compliment my outfit, I'm complimenting somebody else's outfit. I'm telling somebody else that they're beautiful. I'm congratulating somebody else on their anniversary. I'm doing something like that because I aspire to be in a kingdom relationship one day. And when I'm happy, I don't want somebody to be sitting around with their nose up in the air, looking at me with a frown because they're single, or looking at me with a frown because they're not happy with the person that they chose. Not the person that God chose, but the person that they chose. Like, I want to be the type of person that I would want other people to be to me. So how I get through and heal is I focus on myself. I focus on growing, on learning, being the best person that I can be as a mom, as a friend, as a family member, focusing on literally doing something that makes me happy. Like, dancing off beat makes me happy. I mean, music blasting, dancing, just around, jumping in the air, like waving my arms, looking silly, but feeling good. That's the type of stuff I like to do to heal. I don't like to have, a 1 hour long conversation about somebody who is, I don't want to say irrelevant or try to make it seem like I'm putting the person down, but they are of no significance to my life in that moment. Now, if they are helping me grow, if we are bearing fruit, if it's productive in any kind of way, then okay, that makes sense. But it's not helping me to have another conversation about something that I could never change. So what is the point? Things like that are unhelpful. And then also, another thing that somebody did that is unhelpful, the most unhelpful thing that you could ever do is I had somebody, so we had a conversation about this person, but it wasn't like a conversation. I just said something nice about the person. They said something mean about the person, which I wasn't getting into because I don't have any reason to talk down about anybody. Like, I got my own issues. I had so many like issues. I have more issues in a magazine, sometimes. And when I say it like that, I just mean I'm flawed. I'm a flawed human being like everybody else. I got problems just like everybody else. 99 problems, but a man ain't one right now. So I'm just focused on being a better version of myself. I can't worry about what the other person is doing, what other people are doing in their life, because that's not helping me. It's not going to help me to talk bad about anybody else. I don't want anybody to fail. I want everybody to win. So why am I going to talk negatively about them? You know? When people ask me questions about other people, most of the time I just go, or I leave the room. I don't even like try to be in the middle of that because I just want to be blessed. I don't want to be blocked in my blessings because I'm talking about somebody else who's not there to defend themselves. I really feel like anytime we mention something, or if I feel a certain type of way about something somebody did, I go to the person. I'll be like, hey, look, don't send me anything like this again. They can be in their feelings however they feel, but I have to protect myself. And I have to make sure that they know how I feel. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's fine. No, it's not fine. If I feel a certain type of way, you're going to know how I feel in the most respectful way. And I'm going to say it the way I feel it. And I'm going to be as respectful as I possibly can. That's what's going to happen. And the next time you do it, you will not have to worry about ever having my number or seeing me again unless it's in passing. And if I see you, I'm going to be cordial, but there will be no more conversations because I don't deal with that type of toxicity in my life, you know? And so, so one thing I was going to say before I went into this whole tangent is another thing that is super unhelpful is when you bring up the other person randomly. If the person hurting doesn't bring up the person, do not bring up that person. Stop mentioning their name. Their name is like Voldemort in Harry Potter. He who cannot be named. That's what we're going to start doing, in the future. We don't need to be mentioning people's names like we trying to give them a life. Like we got our own life to live. We don't need to be breathing into them. We're not Jesus, We're not God. We're not going to breathe on some dirt and then a human being going to form. We need to be focused on ourselves, I'm just saying, like, it's so irrelevant to even like give something like that energy or life when you have a life that you have to live. There's so many things that we need to be doing. Like, if you're like me, I wasted so much of my time. I got a lot of making up to do for God. So I can't waste my time worried about somebody who doesn't care about me. I can't, when I say that, I'm just saying it in a just regular statement. I don't know how this person or that person or anybody else feels. I just know how I feel about myself. I'm choosing to love, honor, and respect myself, to respect God and to stay focused on Him, number one, above everything else. That's what my main focuses are. And, my family and friends, making sure I have time for them, making sure I'm actually pouring into the people who are pouring into me. I'm giving the people time who actually appreciate me, is what I'm trying to do with my life. I don't have time to waste on somebody who could care less about me or about my feelings, about my well-being, whatever else that's not bearing any fruit in my life. I can't waste that type of time when I've already wasted so much in my life. And so, and I say that, and I'm not saying I don't have bad days or I don't have a moment, or anything like that. I'm just saying for the most part, my intention is to be focused on God. And so, so that's what I'm trying to do. And like I said, if the person doesn't mention them, do not bring up that person's name. Seriously. Stop talking about the old people. We're on a new journey. God makes old things new. We trying to focus on the new things. New, everything new. Like Ty Tribbett. We're just trying to stay focused on the path, the journey that God has set forth for us. If that person was supposed to be riding with you, they'd be right alongside you with Jesus. With God. So obviously they're not supposed to be there, or God gonna spin the block and bring them back when the time is right, and they're gonna have to catch up. You don't have time to slow down. You got things to do. I'm trying to be making. First off, let me put it this way: I'm trying to be focusing on God and making this money. That's what I'm trying to do with my life, and I can't make money sitting still because the idle mind goes hungry. I'm not trying to, he who works. Oof, sorry, my eye was itching. If you don't work, you go hungry. You don't get no food, you don't get nothing. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm working and I'm doing the things that I need to do. I'm sowing into my life. I'm reaping a harvest. And in order for me to do that, I have to be intentional. I have to be focused on God. I'm not talking about overworking. I'm not talking about not getting any rest. I'm talking about being intentional with my life. That's what I need to be doing. And whoever is supposed to be a part of my life, God will enter those people in my life. And I always pray that God removes anybody that either I'm too weak to remove, or that means me no good, or it's not beneficial for this season of my life. because sometimes I'm not strong enough to remove them. And that's just me being honest. And that may be a helpful prayer for you if you know that sometimes your flesh is weak, or sometimes you get weak for certain people, or you get weak for certain things. And you know that you really just want to do the right thing. And so, I mean, it could be a job, it could be anything. I'm like, God, if this job's not for me, allow them to lose my resume, or in me to not get called in for an interview, or if I do an interview, allow me to not get the job. God, if this guy is not for me, make him, make him Casper. I always say that. And I know God be chuckling on the inside like, this girl. But I'm so serious. I'm like, because sometimes it's hard to let things go, especially when you want it. But when God's not in it, it's really not worth it. I would rather have God in my life with nobody than to be with somebody who I'm gonna be miserable with for the rest of my life. I would let me change this, so for the people that want to be in relationships that God said is gonna be married or whatever with a kingdom spouse. I would rather be with the person that God appointed for me at the appointed time. That's grace for me, than to be with some guy who has no vision and is leading me nowhere, and it's not grace for me that I'm going to be miserable with for the rest of my life. Both of those situations, I'm going to be with a man, but I'd rather be with the man that God has for me than the man of the world any day, or the man that I want, but not the man that I need. So I did take some notes. Let's see. Yeah, they're all over the place. My notes was not very organized today. And I didn't take as many notes as I usually do. Like, I wrote some stuff on this side, but it was like little key notes here and there. And then I did write on another paper, but sorry, my jacket's going off my shoulders. I almost took it off, and then I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. And so I just really wanted to hit home the fact that we really do have to have compassion for one another, especially if we're trying to live and be Christ-like, because we can't just keep on boxing people out because we want to feel better about ourselves. If that lady is coming to church with a short skirt, then let her come to church with a short skirt. Yeah, some people feel badly because their husband's there, or there's other men in this saying that you are being a hindrance to your brethren or whatever else. She might not even know that part of the Bible yet. Teach her. And no, you don't have to teach her by saying, oh, you need to cover up because you're doing this and that and you're being a hindrance to these men. Oh, you should never come out like this, and then making her feel ostracized and isolated and like she has nowhere to turn. I don't think that's the right way to go about making somebody feel welcome anywhere. So if there's someone that's doing something like that, why don't you spend some time with her? Why don't you say, hey, let's go shopping together, and you pick out some outfits if your budget allows, and you actually go and get her a couple things that she can wear to church? Why don't you do something like that? Why don't you say, hey, I'm getting my hair done at this place, or, I got this top and I really thought it would look really cute on you. You don't have to tell her who she needs to be. You can just be loving and kind to her the way that God intended for us to be. I don't understand what the nastiness is about. Like, I don't think God wants you to be treating people like crap because they don't see things the way that you see them. You being Christ-like is you being gentle and kind, compassionate, loving, understanding, and setting healthy standards and boundaries. That's you being Christ-like. It's not you being judgmental and make people feel like crap because they're not who you are. Nobody's going to be you. God made one of you, not two. And if you're a twin, you still are two individual people. And if you're a conjoined twin, you still have two individual something else's, and your mind is different. So you don't even think the same way as the other half of you. So I know there's some people that want to be so like focused on semantics and whatever else, but listen, we really need to start treating people better. And whether it's the different types of denominations, or it is you grew up in this place or this place, or it's a political party. And I know they say don't talk about political parties, but listen, I'm not going to go into detail because I don't want to make anybody mad. And so but the whole division thing is satanic. I really feel like, and people probably won't understand, some people might get it, but I really feel like all the division is for is to make sure that we're not strong enough as a group. As long as you can keep the dads out the house so that there's not a leader there to protect the daughter or whoever else that's not living the way that God intended for them to live, then the daughter is always going to be unprotected. The wife, the girlfriend, the mother of the child is always going to be unprotected. As long as, and yes, we are strong, beautiful, independent women who can do all of these things on our own. But I don't know if we were ever meant to do it alone. And I'm not talking about somebody that God hand chose and said, you're going to be like Apostle Paul and just be by yourself because I got this purpose for you. I'm talking about those of us who are, God says, is supposed to be in a relationship or that is a parent or whatever else. I'm pretty sure the intention wasn't to have a broken home so that your kid can not have identity, or they feel like they're unwanted, or they feel misguided, or they have trouble fitting in, or whatever else, like that whole division thing is all nothing but the adversary. I really feel like we should be smarter than that and see that happening. But because the flesh is so weak, because we have the things that we want, it's really hard to make a good decision. It's really hard to make and people gonna get mad. They gonna be mad. It's just gonna be a thing. But listen, sometimes we really get beside ourselves when we really start feeling like, oh, well, I want this, so I need to have this. This is my life. Ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do. But it's something about discipline that's good for the body, the mind, and the soul. You notice your body can't even survive on being undisciplined. When you're undisciplined with your body, when you're not eating healthy, when you're not exercising or doing the things you need to do, for me, my lungs were going to start failing. My lungs were crap. And I was not doing anything but not exercising and eating unhealthy. Okay, I was doing something. I was doing the wrong things. And so if you're not intentionally being disciplined with the things that you eat or exercising, or if you're not intentional about the things that you're lending your ear gates or your eye gates to, if you're not intentional about what you're feeding your soul, what you're feeding your mind, then the things that get in are not going to be helpful. Those things, without discipline, your body, mind, body, and soul is not going to be the healthiest that it could be. That's for everything in life. When I make choices, sometimes I want to do the wrong thing. And that's just me being real. And I have to really, really do self-reflection. I have to really spend a moment with God. I have to really think about, what is this decision going to do for my life? Is it going to benefit me, or is it going to hurt me? Is it going to send me forward or backwards? Is it going to be something that would be pleasing to God, or is it something that would be pleasing to my flesh, or something that would be pleasing to me, and that's it, for a selfish reason? And if it's selfish, if it's lustful, if it's whatever it is, and when I say lust, it could be really want this food. You really want this person, place, or thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be the only thing that we think of when we think of lust. So I have to make sure I specify that in most of these videos, because most of the time everybody wants to think of one thing, because we don't really look into what something actually means to figure out what the true definition of it is. So we just go, first thing we think of is something that we grew up hearing, or something that, a way that other people use the word. We don't really try to seek to understand what the word's true definition is. And so I really have to take a moment and be disciplined. I have to be like, I can't have cookies every day. Yes, Nestle. And, if they want to do affiliate marketing, I mean, I don't know if that's what it's called, but if they want to, support me or whatever in this channel, and they want to send over some Nestle's for the next video, I'm going to eat them cautiously because they're addictive. And listen, I don't just do the normal ones. I don't get them anymore. It's been like a year and a half, maybe 2 years since I've had them, because I can't eat them, because I can't just have one of them. And I will, I would always get the Nestle, and I don't want people to just go out and buy this. I'm just saying, like, if you are doing Christmas cookies, if you are having like one cheat day and you want to have a cookie, or you want to bring the cookies to work for a picnic or something like that, there you go. And so, so I would get like these Nestle. Just thinking about them is just making me want one, but I'm not gonna get it. And so it would be like chocolate chip, but it wasn't a lot of chocolate chips, which I really love, because I want chocolate chips, but I don't want the whole cookie to be chocolate. If that was the case, I would eat a brownie, you know? And so it's got a little bit, and I do this weird thing where I pick out like a bunch of chocolate chips because I only want like 3 or 4 in there. I want to taste the chocolate, but I don't want to be overwhelmed with the chocolate. You know what I'm saying? You know, like you need just enough. And then it's got this caramel layer in the middle. And then it's walnuts. I love nuts and cookies. I don't know why, but I do. And so, yeah, you bite into it, it's nice and soft, and it's got like a little crispiness, but it's not like hard or anything. It's like perfect. Pull it out the oven. You can just put it on top of your ice cream. I know this is getting worse and worse. Or, you know, on your one cheat day, you eat it by itself. Eat one cookie. And they're not huge. And although it's not good for you, the one cookie is not going to be like the end. You have to be disciplined enough to eat that one cookie, you know, not the whole thing. And so, like I used to. And I'm saying that because I feel comfortable saying that because, listen, I maintained this weight for 3 years, 3 to 4 years. So I'm good. But maybe longer than that. It's been a while. Was it 2017? 17 or 18 is when I started losing weight. Man, it's been a while. Okay. It's been about 5, 6 years. Oh my gosh. This is how you know you're getting older because you're not waiting for that birthday to be able to do certain things. So then you get older and then it's like, that was only a year ago. And it's like, that was 4 years ago. You'd be like, whew, how old am I? Like, how did time fly by this fast though? And so, anyways, in conclusion, because I don't want to get off topic and make it into, you know, whole thing or whatever else, but listen, if we really want to help people, we have to stop with the division. We can't be like young people, you know, most of them probably won't listen because I was 25 before I started really being able to listen to people. And so, you know, that might not be everyone, especially with technology and how, you know, mature some of these young kids are. So they might pick up on it better. They might be willing to listen and learn because they want to be, you know, better. And if they are, that's great. So while you're younger, really don't, before you start thinking that old person doesn't know what they're talking about, you know, they grew up a long time ago. They have no idea how it feels to like somebody. That older person liked somebody back in the day. They know how it feels, you know. And this thing that, you know, I think my great grandma used to say, she used to say something like, you know, the players change but the game remains the same. And it's so true because, you know, there's nothing walking this earth that hasn't been tried before. And so if an older person is trying to give you unsolicited advice, you know, even when you pretend like you're not listening, listen to what they're saying. You know, take in a little bit of it. You know, take heed to some of the things they're saying, not just like they're judging you, not just like they're trying to make you feel some type of way or make it seem like you don't know anything. Because sometimes it feels like, oh, they're just saying this because they think I'm an idiot. No, they don't think you're an idiot. They just want to look out for you and they want to make sure that you make better decisions than they made because they fell in love with Jack, Tom, and Jim and them too, you know, and all of them was not the one. And so they're trying to make sure that you would, you know, Jess, don't make the same mistake, or you with Timothy, don't make the same mistake. They want to make sure that you're making good decisions in your life. And you have to think, there was this board that this guy at one of the public speakers said last weekend or the weekend before at the event that I was speaking at. And he said something like, is this good for you? And if the answer is no, if this is not a good decision, if it's not going to be beneficial for you, don't do it. Leave, call somebody else, do something else with your life. Because if you know it's not going to benefit you, if you know it's not good for you, then it's not something that's going to advance or be good for your life. So definitely choose something different, you know. For older people, when the young people come and talk to you about something that's happening at school and, you know, there's this guy or there's this friend or something that's happening with them and they're heartbroken and hurt about it, instead of saying, oh, you don't even know what heartbreak is. You talking about love or liking somebody. You don't know what that is. That's puppy love. You have no idea how this person feels. And to her, being this young, this is like the only love of her life. So have some compassion, please, with all due respect, and really listen and be compassionate about the hurt that they're going through because it's real to them. Like, this is real hurt. This is real pain. They really thought this was going to be the person. They really thought that, you know, this means so much to them, because when you're in school, it goes by so slow. Like a year is like 20 years in school, but for us, a year is like a day. But that does mean a lot to that child. And so when they're hurting, when they're trying to tell you something that happened at school, really listen to them, like truly listen, because you don't know if this is life or you know what. You don't know if the thing that they're going through, even though it doesn't seem serious to you, they need somebody to talk to. They need to be seen and heard, so they know that their feelings matter, so they know that they matter. When you like brush them off and make them feel like they're unimportant, they feel unimportant to everybody. It's bad enough this person didn't like them. Now their own family is making them feel like their feelings are invalid, making them feel like whatever it is that they're going through doesn't matter at all. And now they have nobody to talk to, you know? So the division is nothing but the adversary trying to keep us divided from one another, so that we can't lean on one another, so that we can't join forces, so that we can't take over the world, because we could really have it so much better if we weren't one against another for everything. You see it in business, they're always trying to compete, make one woman compete with another, or if there's a something else going on with businesses, if they're one race, another race, whatever else, it's always like this division, like, oh no, we can't do this, we can't do that, or it's got to be some sort of competition instead of it being a collaboration. I don't understand why we can't all collaborate on our ideas so that we can make the world better instead of being up against one another, because it's not happening. It's not helping at all. Like, it hasn't been working thus far. We keep rinsing and repeating the cycle of the young adults don't listen to the kids don't listen to the adults, and nobody wants to listen to each other. So then they just go and do their own thing, make all these mistakes in life when they could have learned from the older person if the older person would be more compassionate. Same thing with the younger people. We just think that we know everything when we're young. Then the older person try to tell us something. Oh, they don't know what they're talking about. Instead of listening, taking heed to the things that they've already been through, that they're trying to teach us, so we can not make the same mistakes that they made. Even if they're older and the younger person's trying to give them advice and say, hey, yeah, do this computer this way, or yeah, we don't have to do this, we can just do this. They might be helping you with technology, they might help you with something else, and it might be an easier solution. You don't have to churn butter anymore. You could just use this machine. Not saying that any people in the family who make home cooked meals, do not change your method. Listen, don't change it. Because we want all in flavors. We're not trying to skimp on the flavors because we want it done fast, because it's a microwavable society. We want it done in the oven for real, because I don't know about you, and I might be the only one, because I'm going to sound real country when I say this, but listen, you could have bacon, you could have all them things, right? But if you grew up like I grew up and they had a smoker in the backyard, and they had a smoker in the backyard, and the pig was on the thing, and they were turned. Sorry for people who are vegetarians. I'm not trying to offend anybody, but I eat meat. Okay, so, and they had a pig with the apple in the mouth and all the flavors. I mean, they got every single flavor you could ever think. And they got that pig roasting, and it's in the smoker. Whew. When I tell you nothing tastes better than a smoked pig that you done smoked for 6, 8 hours, however long it is. I remember it was like an all day thing. But and then you see people, they go and make bacon in like a minute in the microwave. That microwave bacon tastes nothing like some fresh meat that literally, like, when people make them ribs, when you get that kind of food that's home cooked, soul, like southern cooking for real, and they make it from scratch. mm, Young people, you could really learn something from that. Older people, maybe, okay, maybe the butter thing, you really don't want to churn butter. You just want to take the butter and put it in there and cook it in the microwave, because it'll melt faster instead of letting it sit out all day to soften and everything else. Like, yes, it's just soften a little, and you don't want to just put a hard stick of butter in there and then have the little weird stuff on it that doesn't, when the butter is sitting out, how it doesn't just really loosen like it should so that it can melt properly. Not talking about that. I'm just saying, like, maybe you take the advice of putting the butter in the microwave, and maybe the young person takes the advice of, taking their time to cook the meat so that it's cooked thoroughly, you know, because we don't need to just pop it in and out. Yes, you hungry, but go get some oodles and noodles or something for that. You know, don't just be messing up home cooked meals just because you want it fast. Anyway, but yeah, we really have to stop the division and stop with the unsolicited advice, like, and making someone else feel like their feelings aren't valid or like they need to just get over something. Yes, some people need to move on with their life and know they don't need to stay stuck in a situation in life. Like if they're heartbroken, they don't need to just, oh, woe is me, pity party, feeling bad about themselves for weeks, months, years. They really need to be able to get up and dust themselves off. But in order to do that, you have to speak life into them. Don't just say, oh, I don't know why you worried about that anyways. You could say, you are so beautiful. You can do this, this, and this. It doesn't have to be about a relationship. Probably don't bring up relationships if they're hurting because they don't want to be thinking about that. Any type of relationship. They just want to be thinking about healing. They want to think about how they used to laugh and how when they weren't even worried about being with somebody, how, God was everything to them or something. I don't know. This is just a little example. And so maybe that's what they're worried about. They're not worried about finding somebody else right now. Or if they are, okay. Yeah. So just when you are friends with someone, don't give unsolicited advice to somebody that they didn't ask for. Just speak life into them. It'll help them make a better decision. It will. Instead of them feeling like a fool. Instead of them feeling like, oh, you're smart and you got all of these things. And I not only do I not have this guy, now you're saying I'm not intelligent as well. Now you're insulting my character. Now you're saying that I'm not a good person because I chose this person. Yes, they made a bad decision, but that does not mean that you need to beat up on them or make them feel like crap, even more crappy than they already do because they didn't choose the same decision that you did. We need to be helping each other for real instead of making people feel like they need to see it our way or else. You know, I had one person post something like they put something on a thing and they were just like, "Oh yeah, you can't change anyone." I'm like, "I already know that." But I don't know, like like people would give real unsolicited advice when, like, for example, I could say something like, "Oh, I do this to help other people." They'll be like, "Oh, I do this too." And they'll send me stuff that they think is helpful and it's not helpful at all. It'll be not the message that God is trying to teach me that day. It'll be the message that God showed me a week before then. And now I got to go start back over because they give me advice that God did not put on their heart to give me. Like some people think they're helpful, but they're really not being helpful at all. And most of the time, and this is not me being judgmental, but most of the time, and this is for everybody, nobody has it all figured out. They have like they're not living right or doing the right things. Like all of us make mistakes in our life. I'm not singling out anybody. I make mistakes all the time. It'll be something like that. And although, they don't have their life straight, they have the unmitigated gall to really try to tell you how you should live your life. I take my advice from God, for real. And if I ask somebody that I really trust, that I really care about, I'll ask them for their opinion on something. That is not an invitation for them to send me something every day about how I need to be living my life. If I'm focused on God, God's directing me everywhere else I need to go. I don't need to be manipulated into anybody else's way of thinking. I'm thinking the way that God wants me to think, you know? And I think that's the same way for a lot of other people. That as long as they're focused on God, God will guide them. And we just need to speak life into them and bridge the gap.